Hi, I'm Donna Lynn. I wrote a book called From Fear to Love, My Private Journey. It chronicles my tale, my life, 50 plus years of living in fear with alien abduction, with waking up in the middle of the night with big black shiny eyes haunting me, staring at me, and all I could do was scream. I was frozen to the bed and paralyzed and just screaming and yelling and just thought they were bad dreams. My whole life I thought it was bad dreams. And then I slowly, over the years, I started keeping journals and writing it down. I kept a journal by my bed with a pen and woke up from one of those bad dreams and wrote everything down. Maybe it wasn't a whole lot of a memory, but I'd write down what I was feeling, a place I could remember, colors. Sometimes I'd sketch little beings. And after a while, I started to realize that the same characters kept coming to visit me in my dreams. They would take me to some of the same places, and they were trying to give me messages. And if I could just calm myself down enough and stop screaming and be willing to listen, that they were telling me very important things, like about the earth, that we need to heal the earth, that we're not doing well as humanity, taking care of the earth, and that's what we're supposed to be. We're stewards of the earth. We're caretakers, and we're not doing a very good job of it. And around the year 2000, we all knew something might be going to happen. There were concerns of some kind of apocalypse or the Y2K. And then it came up to December 21st, 2012. We thought the Mayan calendar end date, things were going to happen. And that's when they really stepped up their interactions with me, showing me scenes of devastation, flooding, volcanoes, earthquakes, wars. And I actually really thought we were going to be having a pretty bad time of it. And that's when I decided to start writing this book to get this message out to others. And I kept these feelings inside for so long because people, they make judgments. They may think, oh, you're just crazy, you're imagining it, it's just a dream. And I started putting everything together from my journals. And I realized they were telling a pretty good story, and it did make sense. And as soon as I started coming forward and talking to other people, they would come to me and say, hey, that happened to me too, but please don't think I'm crazy or don't tell anyone. And that made me feel better. It confirmed that I was doing the right thing and that this really is happening. So, and the other thing that convinced me it was time to write this book, I was on a camping trip with my family, and I was asleep in my tent, and I heard my niece's little girl, who was about 6 years old, have a night terror, which was what my bad nightmares were defined as by my doctors, night terrors. And most doctors said that you outgrow them, which I never did. I still do it as an adult sometimes. And some children have them, and the doctors just say it's a normal thing, it's just a bad dream, it's just stress. Well, it's a lot more than that. It's another reality interacting with you, or you interacting with another reality. And there are many layers of reality. We live in this one. It's our consciousness with our ego, and where we go to work and we pay bills and live our day-to-day life. But when we go to sleep and our ego mind quiets down a little bit, our consciousness is able to slide over a little bit into maybe another level of reality, another layer of reality where we experience other things and meet other beings. And they are just as real as this reality. It's just a different reality. And when that happens, it's so hard to translate that from that reality into this reality that we just sometimes just respond with a primal scream, and it's just terrifying and unknown to us and alien to us. And the next morning, her parents were apologizing and everything, and I thought, no, there's no need to apologize. This is actually a gift. I have gone from being fearful of this and thinking it was a horrible thing that was happening to me to realizing it is a gift. It's a gift to be sensitive enough to sense these other realities, to see them and hear them and feel them, and to have these entities in connection with you, reaching out to you, and you sense their energies and see them and hear their messages. So I understand that a lot of alien interactions follow family lineages, and it's quite possible that one or more of my grandparents were contacted by aliens or went through the same similar experiences. So I decided to take all the notes that I had and all the journals that I'd stashed away over the years and put them together and write it into kind of a book form so that this little girl could maybe read it and it would help her. And then a couple years after that, after I was getting it put together, my own daughter called to ask about her own daughter, my granddaughter's night terror that she had at 3 years old. And that's when it really was confirmation for me that it's time to get this message out to other people, to be able to read what I went through and how I handled it. And now I'm not afraid anymore. I actually look forward to when the aliens contact me. So I've written it down, and as I did, the aliens kept telling me to send it to Dolores Cannon's publisher. And sure enough, I sent it to Ozark Mountain Publishing and got the notification that they wanted to publish my book. First publisher I sent it to. So, and it's been just one confirmation after another that it was the right thing and that it's helping these other people, children and adults, to deal with similar things that happen to them. So prior to the year 2000, the efforts by the aliens kind of ramped up with sending us messages about disasters. I do believe we turned a corner. I think there was kind of a tipping point or a decision that had to be made regarding the way we took care of the earth, the way we handled wars, the way we act with each other and take care of each other. And it wasn't looking good. And I think there might have been some kind of divine intervention with possibly floods, earthquakes, tornadoes, hurricanes, or even a man-made drama like World War, nuclear war, if things didn't change. And that's why in the late 1990s, I got a lot of messages, and I understand that a lot of other contactees did too, about the earth being destroyed. I was actually taken on board a ship out behind the moon where I could just see the horizon of the moon just in front of me, and beyond that, the earth. And I saw multiple explosions on it, just all over the surface of the earth. And I thought it happened in real time. And when I woke up, I was so panicked and terrified, and I searched for the news and to see, and nothing had happened, but it set such a sense of devastation and loss in me that it really woke me up to the fact that these aliens, they care about us, they care about this planet, they're really upset with what we're doing with it and what we're doing with each other, with the wars. And that's when they kind of ramped up the interactions a lot, and they came to me much more frequently with the messages that we need to take care of the earth. And they were sending these messages to so many people about bad things that might happen. And then Y2K came and went. December 21st, 2012 came and went, and nothing really happened that I was able to see or feel, but there was a shift. There was a shift in consciousness. A lot more people became aware that we need to take care of the planet and that we need to take care of each other. That's when the focus really shifted. Before that, I was always afraid. I would always wake up screaming. I was always afraid they were going to approach me in the middle of the night. I was afraid of a lot of things. I was afraid of a nuclear war. And something shifted in the way they contacted me. They didn't come standing by my bedside anymore, staring at me with the big black eyes. Instead, they kind of presented me with like a sing-song little voice, or calling my name from a great distance, or sometimes they'd even use my mother's voice. They'd say, Donna, Donna, like my mother calling me in from play as a little girl. And that kind of put me at ease and made me realize they know me well enough to know that they need to approach me in a kinder way, a gentler way. And I began to really listen to their messages and focus on what they were telling me. And what they were saying is humans need to come together. It's really time to stop worrying about me, and how much money can I make and how famous can I get, and focus on taking care of the planet and working together. So they did ramp up the interactions right around the years just prior to 2000. And for the longest time when they approached me and I'd be screaming and terrified, I'd say, what's your name? What's your name? Because as a human, if I can categorize something, put it in a box, know their name, know their species, it makes it easier for me to understand or comprehend or feel like I maybe have a sense of control. And they would always say, names are not important. The message is what's important. But I was so filled with fear, I wasn't hearing the message either. And So around that time, they started telling me their names. And I think that was their way of realizing they could put me at ease, and then maybe I would listen to the message. And one of them is called Kaisos. One of them was called Atekana. They have these very unusual names, and they spell them out for me and make sure I get them correctly. And that did put me at ease. It did help. And then I could listen to what they were trying to say, which was basically that they are good, they are benevolent, they're not what Hollywood makes them out to be. They don't want to make us into slaves. They don't want to eat us. They are caretakers of us, much as we're caretakers of the Garden of Earth. It's all interconnected. And if we do damaging things like nuclear war, it's also going to affect them on dimensional levels, on vibrational levels. And I'm not sure if they come from distant planets or if they live right here with us on similar dimensions, similar timelines, maybe inner Earth. You know, I really don't know exactly where they come from, but they do love the Earth, and they're very concerned that we're going to hurt it. And they want us to protect it, and they are protecting us also. So I learned from learning their names, and then the main one who came to me, he is a praying mantis. He looks like a 7-foot tall praying mantis, except he has big, shiny, glossy black eyes. And he told me his name was Crote, and he very specifically said it was C-R-O-T-E. And he let me know about that time also that he was here for healing and caretaking, not just me, but all humanity and all the Earth. He has a great interest in humanity. I was having a lot of migraine headaches at that time in my life. And one time, or several times actually, I would wake up in the night with this horrible throbbing headache, and Crote would be standing at the side of my bed, and he would put one of his forelegs or forearms or whatever you call a praying mantis arm over my forehead, and it would feel very cooling and soothing, and my pain would instantly go away. I mean, no medication or anything else worked. And that's when I realized he loves me, he cares for me, he doesn't want me to be in pain. And not just me, he loves all people, he loves all of humanity. And he was displaying to me that he cared enough to come to me as an individual in the middle of the night when I was in pain and make that pain go away. So, and they have quite a sense of humor. They're very sarcastic. It's like a intelligent, sarcastic, ironic sense of humor. He told me his name was Crote, and then about 2 weeks later, I saw the movie K-Pax in the theaters, where the alien played by Kevin Spacey was named Prot, P-R-O-T. And when I heard that, it just made me crazy, because was this a play on words? Is that even really his name? Is he just trying to lighten things up so I don't take things so seriously? And they do that quite a bit. They say little silly things or something that I take really seriously, and then a little while later, something else will come up to show me that it was lighthearted or supposed to be just taken lightly, not taken so seriously, because we do take everything seriously, and we take aliens so seriously. I mean, look at the movies. Everything is very serious with the aliens, but it doesn't have to be. Life can be, they tell me that life is a game, and we should play it like a game, and they're playing it with us. They may have different rules and different game controllers, but we're all playing it together, and we need to have more fun with it. After 2012, I was really concerned something big was going to happen, December 21st, 2012. And when that came and went and nothing really visible happened, their interactions changed also. Actually, I haven't had a disaster type scenario since that date. And it changed into a focus of love. Love is the message. Nothing else matters. Love one another, love the earth, love them, they love us. And it's this massive, all-encompassing love. It's not like human love. And this is one of the reasons they scare us so much, because when they come to see you and they stare into your eyes with these big, black, shiny eyes, they're reading you. They're reading your soul. They're reading your heart. They're reading your fears, your feelings, things you might feel guilty of, things you wished you'd done. And they read it all when they look into your eyes and hold you in that stare. And they love us anyway. They love me anyway. They love people anyway, even with our darkest thoughts and feelings. And sometimes that's a little overwhelming for humans, because human love isn't like that. Human love has petty jealousies and insecurities and worries and fears and secrets. And there are no secrets with the aliens. They know everything. And they are trying to get the message out now. That's the message, is it's love. And it doesn't matter if you look different than each other, or if you have differences of opinion on politics or anything, that love is the overwhelming key for healing everything, relationships and the earth. If we loved the earth more, we wouldn't be clear-cutting the forests. So their messages have changed, and they've also changed to say that it needs to be shared. Because up until very recently, I kept this information all to myself. I didn't even tell my most close family members, because I didn't want to be considered crazy or weird. And others are coming out with it also and saying they've had very similar experiences and they never told anyone either. And that's a big part of what the aliens are trying to say now, is that we need to get this message out, because each one of us has a special gift. Like I said, it's a gift to be able to see them, hear them, interact with them. And I feel very blessed that I'm able to do that and overcome the fear. But others, they give information all the time, and they have really advanced technology. They make their ships fly incredibly fast or invisible, or how they appear in our bedrooms in the middle of the night through the walls. I mean, how do they do that? And they could tell us that. They are willing and able to give us the information. But if they impart information to someone like me, who I'm not a scientist, even if they told me the technical information, how to get through a wall, I wouldn't be able to translate it from their reality into ours. So what they want is for the message to get out, for people to be sharing what they've experienced, and that it's okay, the aliens are friendly, they're not going to hurt us, and get this message out to other people so that they are more willing and able to maybe open up their hearts and minds and listen to what the aliens say. And maybe a scientist who does understand how the concept of how to get through a wall, they can impart that information to that person and they can make it a reality. They don't like our competitiveness. We have it set to where if I come up with an invention, I run to the patent office and I get it copyrighted, and I don't share the information. I have the secret recipe. And they like the spirit of cooperation, where they can project an idea for something, maybe a medical cure. One part of it I might be able to grasp. Maybe one part of it someone in Germany can grasp. Maybe someone in another country can grasp another part. And if we weren't all secretive and competitive, that information could be shared. And then maybe medical breakthroughs, scientific breakthroughs, all kinds of things could come about much more readily with the technology they can share with us and the information they can share with us. But because we're all secretive and competitive, it's much harder for them to get that out there and share it with us. And they have the spirit of cooperation rather than competition, and that's what another part of the message they want to encourage. And I know that's hard in today's world, because if you invent something, you want the royalties, you want the credit for it. But to advance everything forward, they would like us to work together more cooperatively. After about the year 2000, when they ramped up their interactions, they took me aboard ships much more often. And in the past, when I was very fearful, it would be the traditional abductee experience where I wake up and I'm in a white room laying on a metal table, with maybe the praying mantis alien looking over me and some that look like grays. And then I go back to sleep. When I woke up, I was in my bed, maybe with a nosebleed or some bruises, but that was it. But after I began getting past my fear, and after the year 2000, when their messages changed, they began taking me on ships and letting me remember and letting me be conscious, because I stopped kicking and screaming while they were doing it. And they would sometimes take me on tours of their ships. And as I said, with the technology, their technology is so advanced. Sometimes I'm in a room where it looks like just a round room with white walls, and then they do something and all of a sudden it's clear. It's like crystal clear, and you can just look out and see everything, whether you're out in space or on Earth, hovering above the Earth. It's just amazing, the technology. But they also showed me by doing this that there are multiple, endless types of beings on the ships, and they all work in a spirit of cooperation. They seem to put their capabilities, what they're most suited for, they put that together with what they do. Like one that has multiple arms, like probably 12 arms. It was almost squid-like or octopus-like, up on the ceiling of a control room, operating some kind of panel with all of its arms. And the grays that I've seen, they are like the traditional ones with the big eyes, dolphin-type skin, like gray-blue skin, about 3 feet tall. But the ones I've seen have like flippers or fins for feet. And they kick those little feet like they're treading water through our atmosphere. And that's how they move. They don't walk like we do. They float and they glide. And that's how they're able to come up eye level with us, because they're basically treading water in our atmosphere. And they come in different colors, and they mostly are like the workers. I've seen them at the control panel of a ship. And then there's a type that I find really amazing. I call them the brown scurries. They're little brown fuzzy creatures that you can see out of the corner of your eye only. You think you see something scrambling across the floor, and you turn and look, and there's nothing there. But then when I turn back, I can see it again. And they have told me that soon scientists are going to come up with the discovery that humans can see things in their peripheral vision that we can't see with our straight vision. And we do sense some of the beings only with the corner of our eye. Their molecules vibrate at a different rate, is what I've been told. And that's why we can't see them directly, but we can peripherally. And these little brown scurries, they're kind of like a raccoon or a cat. They're fuzzy brown, and they move, I think they have 6 legs, and they move very, very fast. And I was told they clean up messes, which on board crafts, obviously things have to be kept sanitary. But they not just, again, with the multiple layers of meanings, everything the aliens do and say have multiple layers of meanings, they not just clean up physical messes. If something gets spilled, or humans, we're messy, we shed hair, some people get so upset and scared on the ship they may actually vomit or something, and they clean all that up. But they clean up, if a human sees something on board a ship that we're not supposed to see or know, or it's not yet time for us to have that concept, these brown scurries can somehow reach into our brains and our thoughts and remove it before it's made a permanent memory in our brain. So clean up messes. They are able to move that fast, faster than the speed of thought, I guess, and remove it. So you know how you've had the feeling, wait, what was I just thinking? What did I just see? Well, maybe a brown scurry came in and removed it because it wasn't time yet for humanity to be aware of that. I've been asking the aliens for quite some time to come and make themselves known. To me, it would be so much easier for me if they would just manifest in my living room and I could call a news crew to come and film this. But at the moment, they prefer to keep it individual, one-on-one, but they do want to work with as many individuals as they can. Up till now, they've worked mostly with certain family lineages or certain Native American tribes, certain Aboriginal people. But now they want to reach as many people as they can so that they can get that influx of scientists and researchers and doctors and people from all walks of life who can each bring something to the table with their gifts. They're not going to land on the White House lawn anytime soon. I have asked about that also, and they told me, for one thing, they're not interested in our petty squabbles. That's exactly how they call it. Our politics is petty squabbles, our borders, our wars, because they see humanity as a whole. But they're not going to land on the White House lawn. They're not going to land on a military base. They figure humans aren't capable right now of coping with seeing massive fleets of UFOs. People might be suicidal. People might try shooting. They can turn off our weapons. They're not concerned about our weapons hurting them. They're more concerned about us hurting each other, hurting ourselves, panicking. People might kill their children thinking they have to protect them from the evil aliens or something. So they're very, very cautious in approaching us, and that's why they're doing it as individuals at the moment. And as far as a mass sighting or large amounts, it might be It might not happen in my lifetime. It depends on the humans. They're ready. They've been ready for a very long time, but it depends on the humans. As individuals, we do very well. They can reach us individually. We can understand and communicate, but you get that mob mentality where people get violent and brutal and panicky, and it's not a good situation. So I don't foresee them coming to approach us for disclosure or anything like that anytime soon. The aliens have always been around. They've always had an interest in humanity and the earth. They've always kept their distance but watched us. There were a few times, I believe, they came in the flesh, maybe during the times of Atlantis when the pyramids were built, or the Easter Island heads, and they realized that didn't work out so well because humans have a way of making them into gods, and they are not gods, they are our brothers and sisters. And so they've kept their distance, but they've always watched us, they've always had an interest. But after we dropped the atomic bombs on Japan in 1945, that really got their attention. They said, wait a minute, these humans are getting dangerous now. They're a threat to other layers of existence. And they started really ramping up the concern to come and monitor us and interact with us. And at first, in the 50s and 60s, when they approached most of us, we had the night terrors. We'd scream, we'd yell. It would be a very fearful thing. And that's when a lot of the Hollywood movies of fear-generated aliens came out. And over time, they learned from us, as we learn from them, that humans are pretty skittish and they need to approach us in a nicer way, they need to learn human etiquette, standing by a bedside when someone is sound asleep and safe and warm and having a pleasant dream, and staring into their eyes and waking them up and freezing them to the bed is not really very good etiquette. It's kind of rude. So they've learned over the years from interacting with me and hundreds of others that it's better if they give us a warning sign that they're planning to come. They have their own lives, they have their own other things. It's not like they're watching us constantly. So they have cycles when they come and monitor us and interact, and then cycles when they leave. But they've learned that if they're coming to approach me, usually around dinner time or as I'm getting ready for bed, I'll either get a feeling in the pit of my stomach that they're around. You know how you can sense if a person is standing behind you or something, kind of get that sense of a feeling, someone near me. Or they'll give a ringing or buzzing in my ear, my right ear. I'll get this unusual humming sound. Or I'll hear my voice, like I had said before, they call sometimes like from far away in a sing-song voice, or sometimes almost like my mother's voice, Donna. And I'll hear that inside my head, and there's no one there, but then they come to me later that night. So they've learned they can give us an advance warning. So if anyone else wants to be connected with aliens or wants to reach out to them, but maybe is a little scared of how to do it or what's going to happen, ask them to tell you when they're coming, give you a sign. And that way, when you go to sleep, you're kind of expecting it, and it's not quite so terrorizing if you wake up and they're next to your bed, or they're taking you aboard a ship or something. They are learning to work with us as we're learning to work with them. My main contact, there other alien species have come and gone, other ships have come and gone, but the one constant has been Croat, the 7-foot tall alien being. And so I figure he's my guide, my tour guide through this lifetime. And I had a image one time that I would be standing and speaking to people. I would be up on a stage, which this was many years ago, where I would never have dreamed that I would be talking about this to anyone, let alone in front of strangers. And I was talking to people, and I heard kind of a gasp from the audience, and I turned around, and there was Croat standing. He's always slightly behind me and to my right. And I remember seeing him standing there, flesh and blood, and I asked the audience, you guys are seeing this too? And everybody did. And Croat wanted me to hug him in front of everyone, because a 7-foot tall praying mantis is creepy and scary, and he didn't want anyone to be frightened. And I was even a little taken aback, because my interactions with them have been in another realm. They haven't been in this actual physical realm. So touching him or hugging him in this realm would be a whole different deal. And I kind of took a step backwards, and he stepped forward and engulfed me in a big hug with all 6 of those insect legs. And he said to me, "The better to hug you with, my dear." And that just struck me on so many levels, because as a little girl, my favorite story was Little Red Riding Hood. And my mother would read it to me with the voices of the wolf disguised as grandma saying, "The better to hear you with, my dear, the better to see you with, my dear." And he said that in his voice, "The better to hug you with, my dear," as he hugged me with this unconditional, enveloping love that the aliens have for me and for you and for everyone in the world. And that's when all the fear dissipated, and I knew it was all about love and healing. One of the things I find very interesting, we all picture spaceships as being Hollywood-inspired, metal, cold, rockets shooting at each other, and the ships I've been on are completely unlike that. They're living entities. The ships themselves house many living entities, but the ships seem to be alive also. They're all round, and they're not metal. They may have white walls or clear walls, but often they're more like an aquarium or a terrarium than what we would consider a spaceship. They have plants. They use plants as their air filters. They have waterfalls to keep the humidity levels up. They have all kinds of creatures, but it's just so different from what we expect from Hollywood. It's alien. It's just different. One time, they brought me home after being in a ship, and they keep telling me their physics are different. And I'm not a physicist, so I don't understand a lot of that. I know it's related to time travel and different, things like that. But they took me, I was on board a ship, which they're immense. They're huge, they're massive. And they brought me home and set me down in my living room. And all of a sudden I was outside the ship, and it was there in my living room. And it was like a round, almost like a fishbowl. And how could it be? How could it be in my living room? It was this massive, enormous ship. And looking at it from the outside in, they had made the walls clear for me, and I could look in, and it looked like an aquarium with seaweed and creatures swimming around and pulsating and glowing and multicolors. They have beautiful colors that they use with their species and their decorating. And before I knew it, a gray was standing right next to me, kind of admiring it with me, like, see what we do? They're kind of proud of what they do. And then I have an aquarium. I had an aquarium at that time in my living room, and the gray turned to look at my aquarium and kind of like with a smirk, like, that's a human attempt, but theirs is so much better and so much grander. But we're on the way. We're on the way. I feel like they may come from our future. I'm not exactly sure when or where they come from. I do think it might be from our future or a future, and they're guiding us along the way. And our aquariums are a primitive attempt at what the future spaceships could be like. I do have a website, Donna Lynn Dreams. Donna Lynn was taken, so I decided to go with DonnaLynnDreams.com, Facebook, Donna Lynn Dreams, and Twitter. And the name of my book is From Fear to Love, My Private Journey. It's basically my journals that I consolidated together and put them in a story that others could read and hopefully learn from, so they can interact with aliens also, if they wish to.